Let's bring in now Geoffrey Robertson, international human rights lawyer who has worked with and fought for Assange's release for many years now. Geoffrey joins us live. Thank you so much for your time.
Good morning, Sharri.
How happy are you this evening, Geoffrey Robertson?
Well, it's pleasing to see him safe and free from the illness that has plagued him in the top security prison where he's been for 5 years. And he's back, and I think he joins the group of Australian journalists who've prodded at power and have exposed military secrets. They begin with your proprietor's father, Keith Murdoch, who exposed the British Army at Gallipoli. And then, of course, we've had Phil Knightley and Murray Sale and we have John Pilger. We may have Sharri Markson in that pantheon of people, journalists, commentators, and so on, who expose truths about what is happening. So for that reason, I think it's good that he's back. I'd point out in answer, or the answer that Mr. Albanese might have given, Kevin Rudd gave it some years ago, that the material that he published was never top secret. That's the classification that is required if lives are going to be at risk for disclosure. The material that he published was not in that category. So the idea, and indeed the judge said yesterday or this morning, time is getting a little mixed, but the judge in sentencing him said that there was no physical harm resulting from his work. I think that's
although of course there could
important.
Although of course there was no reduction of names and there could have been physical harm done. Lives were put at risk. There was concern that sources were exposed. But not to get back into that argument now, Geoffrey Robertson, what do you expect Julian Assange will do now that he's free in Australia? Does he intend to work as a journalist?
A speech, Sharri. He's going to make a speech. First, a microphone that's put in his direction. He will speak usually, as I recall, for a long time. I recall looking at my watch as he went on, but I hope his minders have reminded him that the public's ability to take in what he says is limited, and I hope he'll confine himself to the important thing about his case, which was that the Obama people, and I knew very high up Obama people, said, we don't want him. We think he's covered by the First Amendment, which is the great security for Americans or for writing for American papers. But then the Trump lawyers, in bringing this case against him, developed a new theory that he didn't get his protection because he was an Australian. So it only protected Americans. And of course, there are journalists around the world, many from Britain, who write about the Pentagon, write about American military endeavors, not all of them satisfactory. And so,
but Geoffrey, what about Assange's?
But it would have taken years.
What about his next?
Sort out. It would have gone to the Supreme Court. So he's really wise, I think, to take this plea bargain, as David Hicks did. You remember?
Yeah, and, I can hear your phone is going off there. Everyone's trying to contact you because this is a big news day. Just before you go, Geoffrey Robertson, do you expect that Julian Assange will want to now work as a journalist? Does he intend to get a job?
I don't know what Julian will do. I think he needs some rest and recreation. Maybe go back to where he was born on Magnetic Island. But he will, I think, he's a very pleasant and erudite man, and it may be that self-taught, autodidact, it may be that he'll write either an autobiography or get into philosophy of some kind. But his insight into international affairs was always considerable, and I think Australia
Well, you think he would have had enough time by now to write an autobiography? If he hasn't written one over the past 14 years, then I tell you what, he's just wasted his time.